Moving on to another game in the noon window. This one's noon Eastern time on ABC. It's the LSU Tigers traveling to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the resurgent South Carolina Gamecocks. LSU around a touchdown favorite at the moment. Question number one, great O-line versus great D-line. Who wins? All right. These are two of the best units in the Southeastern Conference. You could even make a case that nationally, these are two of the best units that you'll find. The defensive line of South Carolina, the offensive line of LSU. Let's start on the defensive line. Kyle Kennard, the transfer from Georgia Tech, and the five-star freshman Dylan Stewart have combined for 6 sacks and 7 stops behind the line of scrimmage. They have been terrorizing offensive line so far. Couple of sack fumbles against Old Dominion that led to them winning the game. A bunch of pressure on the Kentucky quarterbacks, both of them, throughout the game last week. On the other side, LSU has perhaps the best offensive line in the country. Offensive tackle Will Campbell has given up just 2 sacks in his career, and neither were him getting beat. It's basically effort plays and scramble drill situations. On the right side of the offensive line, Emory Jones is also likely going to be another first rounder. 6'6", 315, very athletic. The interior is really good as well. So a great offensive line against a great D-line. Who wins? That's question number one. Question number two, can LSU put pressure on Lenoris Sellers? This offensive line for South Carolina has given up the second most negative plays nationally through 2 games. Okay? You look at Lenoris Sellers, first game against ODU. You could tell there were some jitters. You could tell he was a little bit anxious, a little nervous. He settled down with a pair of touchdown passes when he went on the road to Lexington. I thought he did a pretty good job. Now, getting back to what LSU did a couple weeks ago against USC, I think there's things to be applied from that plan to this plan. Did not think they played well whatsoever against Nichols on defense, but I do think there's more in the tank for Blake Baker's havoc style defense. Can they frustrate? Can they shorten the amount of time that Lenoris Sellers has to survey the field downfield? So can they put pressure on Lenoris Sellers and make him uncomfortable like ODU was able to do a couple weeks ago? Question number 3, can LSU's offense avoid the big mistake while staying aggressive? We know how good this wide receiver core is. Kyron Lacey is off the charts good. He's a number 1 go-to wide receiver. This will be the best collection of wide receivers that South Carolina's defense has seen so far. But this has been a defense that has been outrageously opportunistic through 2 weeks. Gamecocks have picked off 4 passes, forced 6 fumbles, and like I said earlier, I know that they have 6 sacks between their 2 defensive ends, but they have 10 sacks overall. That is currently leading the SEC. They also have a star in the making in Vicari Swain, who is, I think, going to be excellent there at corner. So him matched up against Kyron Lacey will be something that a lot of people will be monitoring. And Garrett Nussmeier, look, it's been pretty obvious. This is a guy with a ton of potential, a ton of talent, but he is not afraid to throw it into traffic. Be careful when throwing it into traffic against a really good and experienced secondary for South Carolina. Question number 4, who has the advantage running the football? If you look at LSU right now, they managed just 64 yards rushing against Nichols and haven't really figured out how they're going to divvy up the carries between Caleb Jackson, Josh Williams, and Caden Durham. John Emery, remember, was lost for a season-ending knee injury on Tuesday of last week in practice. And they're right now the only team in the SEC, LSU, without a rushing touchdown. Now, the Gamecocks on the other side, they haven't been very good running the football either. And considering how often they anticipate running the football this year, their lack of productivity is somewhat alarming. They've averaged just 4.2 yards a play. That's 124th in the FBS. Only 38% of their plays, 38% of their plays have gone for 0 or negative yards. So a lot of plays that are being made behind the line of scrimmage, and league low right now, 2.9 yards per carry, despite Rocket Sanders leading the SEC in carries among running backs right now. So a couple trends in the game. South Carolina is 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 against ranked opponents, and the under is 7-1 in South Carolina's last 8 games. I think right now we're getting LSU on sale as far as the court of public opinion. People are looking at them. They're remembering the USC game. I look at the USC game and I thought to myself, man, there was a lot of opportunities that they had to close that thing out, and they didn't. Meanwhile, on the other side, everybody's feeling great about what they've seen from South Carolina's defense in the first couple weeks. But I do think there are still a lot of things that they got to figure out offensively. Right now, LSU has more firepower, and I think they will eliminate the mistakes that other teams have made against South Carolina this weekend. I'm taking the Tigers to go on the road and get it done.